Welcome to Pepper's Echo. It is a very special NA discussion tonight. We were actually going to have it about 2 nights ago, but it just shows you what happens when we put Julius Malema into our equipment. Our equipment goes for a absolute rot, isn't it? So welcome, Julius.
How are you doing, man? Thank you so much for having me on again. Yeah, the technical difficulties have been I would say a bit of a bitch this week, but man, yeah, ek het nie woorde nie.
Ek ook nie, want my screen is going for an absolute ball of dingbat again. So I don't know. Hopefully, I'm not going to struggle.
Yeah.
To do this, because everything was fine until the intro was running, and bam, there goes my second screen again.
Yeah. Well, as you guys can see, I am literally streaming from my kitchen tonight. Internet's been absolutely terrible out here in the jungle. The weather's been awful. We're on our second typhoon at this point in time. So mosquitoes are terrible. Snakes are terrible. I guess not having the best internet isn't really something to complain about now, is it?
I don't know. Snakes, that's a problem to me, bro. I'll take mosquitoes. The mosquitoes are cool. Snakes, not a chance. Not a freaking chance.
Yeah, so it's to be expected, but luckily the ones we found so far weren't venomous, well, to a life-threatening extent. So that's okay.
Yeah. Well. Malemas, get him to come and chase them away. Claim back the land. Anyway, let's not go through that part again.
Yeah.
Yes, so what's happened? Senekal 2, there was suddenly this pretty large uproar.
Die slag van Senekal.
Sorry, die slag van Senekal.
Yeah.
And I'm having a very worried look at the moment because my screen won't go on. I can't see anything on my other screen, so I don't know how I'm going to get the sharing done. But anyway, yeah, the slag, what's it? The Battle of Senekal. What's it? Isn't it? What's slag?
Yeah, in this context, it refers to the battle of.
It's not really a battle. The slag is a battle, but yeah, the slag. But anyway.
Yeah, but that's why it's so ironic that that general, I don't even know what to call him anymore, that he actually refers to it the whole time as die slag van Senekal, die eerste slag van Senekal, die tweede slag van Senekal. The only thing that they got to see there was a fucking ranger bucky. It wasn't a slag of anything.
Well, didn't see anything sorts us in the second one because we're talking about Senekal 2 now.
Yeah.
And
Senekal 2, there was nothing.
Nothing. And this is what happened. And a very, very controversial accusing video was sent out on social media. And then there were 2 others that took on the run there. And then there was a defense one that came in defending it. And then there was another look at it. And then there was one that General Izak van Zyl put out himself. And I thought, you know what? The NA discussion does not back a horse. We back our own discussion. So
this is very true.
Now, once again, we are not the learned. We were not there. We don't know all the P's and Q's about it, but what we do know is what we get to see. So I've taken the video of his statements and General Izak van Zyl of the Boere Legioen statements at Senekal 2, which was Friday, I think the 16th of September, and put it together. And I figured you and I could actually take a look at it and raise our own questions and answers and things to that effect as such, without backing a certain player, without saying, you know, this person who says all lies is right, or this person who said he said that is right. Let's take a look from the normal man in the street, or men in the street. Yeah. The boys are back in town. So
I really also think in this context, it's been playing through my mind since I've been following this story. It's actually a good thing that we can talk about this as expats, because On the one hand, yes, we weren't there. I kon nie die boere gaan ondersteun nie, and there's not much else I can do. But also, this does mean that we are not in the thick of it every single day. We are not riled up by this emotion that everybody else seems to be. We can actually keep a relatively, I would say, subjective view about the whole thing, without being influenced by the emotion so much. Because what I've noticed is this has turned into an absolute shit show. This has been turning into like a high school or a primary school arguments. Like, you did this, yeah, you did this, yeah, you started it, yeah, you did it. Like,
it did go to quite a big blowout, and yeah, I agree with what you say. You know what, we properly removed. So some people would argue the fact that we have no right to say anything. I argue the fact that this is our only way of being able to put skin. Excuse? Oh, is that it? But yeah, some people might argue that we don't have the right to say anything because we are not in the country, and we are shortly out of the country. It's not as if we spent 20 years out of the country. We're not even 2 years out of country, so we are still very much affiliated to it. But not being able to be on the ground in the country, the only way that we can get skin in the game is actually to take a look at it from a point of view from what we get to see. We try and pull as much media as what we can and look through the media as much as what we can. However, not being great researchers and great politicians or knowledge or whatever, we take from what we can get and what we feel and what we look as the every man in the street. And the only way that we can give back and actually try and support the, dare I use the immortal words of Malema, support the struggle. And so we'll support the case in South Africa is to be able to do it on YouTube the way we do it. And I hope, if it gets out to one or two people, I know Pepper Zeko, the NA discussion is very, very new. But I do hope that it gets some traction and that we would be able to get a couple of comments and a few live shows and that going so that we can eventually, be the man in the street, be the objection, be the view, the layman's view.
That's what this is about. I mean, this is how we've been introducing ourselves since the start. And those who say, yes, you guys don't have a right to comment on these things, I've even been called a traitor. I've even been called a defector. But at the end of the day, look, one of the most important things we can do is actually start a conversation instead of starting a war. And quite frankly, I think the discussions we're having right now, I don't see my counterparts in South Africa, in Pretoria, and the man on the street actually doing a stream like that. So if you hold the opinion that we don't have the right to say anything about that because we don't actually live in South Africa anymore, that's perfectly fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. However, I do think that it doesn't carry too much water, seeing as that we actually devote our time to have proper conversations about these things without pulling out our thesauruses and our best and most polished political language and analysis and facts and statistics. And no, this is a conversation. We're having this conversation. If you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. However, I do think in this circumstance, it is a very good thing that we're not as emotional as everybody else in South Africa right now. As we're going to go through this, I think that it's important to note that most of the other big YouTubers in South Africa seem to have taken a very, very emotional response to what's been happening. So this is, I think, where we can objectively state what we think as the man in the streets and do so calmly without being influenced too much by anger.
There's many people that might have a deeper research and look at it, and that's why I don't mention any YouTubing names in that when it comes to people who have either been for or against this, because I do believe that they have their own research and things to that effect. I hope that our humble opinions and questions that we generate from these maybe add to them actually doing more research or bringing it out stronger. As I've always advocated that, you know what, take a look, we create the questions, and the answers you'll usually find by the big guns, and the big guns like a Ronaldo Gous and a Chris Wyatt, Germ Warfare. What's the other one is, well, there's Conscious Caracol as well, but what's the other guy? Morning Shot that I left out as well. He's pretty decent too. But I've broken my other screen totally now. It will not work.
Hey.
Okay, so I'm going to do my very, very best to carry on with this. I'm actually so disappointed with this DVI port. I don't know if it's the business that sold it to us or if it's the screen, but it's definitely not the screen because when I swapped the HDMI cable. But enough moaning of that. Let's get on to this little piece of that has caused a storm in a teacup at the moment. So first of all, I'd just like to actually just get everyone to understand or maybe get a little bit of a look at the Boere Legioen. So because we look at Izak van Zyl, and it says General Izak van Zyl. Now, I know he was affiliated to the police previously. I'm not too sure if he was affiliated to military as well, if it was just military and police. I did not do homework there. I do apologize. However, in the Boere Legioen, he is a general. So I can't say retired General Izak van Zyl. Not van Zyl.
More a self-appointed title, or he was maybe nominated as the general within his own organization, but I don't think the rank general applies to anything in the South African Police Service or the South African National Defence Force.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. So yeah, but that is his ranking or known rank in the Boere Legioen. So now I just want to actually get to you about the Boere Legioen and tell you a little bit about it. There's their logo or emblem, and it gives us a little bit about us, and it says there, the Boere Legioen is a non-political civil defense movement which is managed by retired members of the South African Police and South African Defence Force. Our goal is to make use of expertise in every field of competence through guidance, training, and leadership in order to fulfill the functions of the decommissioned commando system. Now, as we all know that pre-94, there was commandos in South Africa, which was basically volunteers and ex-military people who did camps and that, and they used to do a lot of assistance with the police and any form of unrest. And once again, as who's that other chap, Neil de Beer, I'd like to take a closer look at him. I haven't heard from him again since that last clip, but yes, he was talking about the commandos who helped on the farms and that as well. So they're almost trying to, or attempting to assist in fulfilling the commando system. And it is a non-political civil defense movement, and it's all retired police and defense force. In light of the current climate of crime and unrest, we see it as the only way we can protect and safeguard our local community, nation, and communities nationwide. The Boere Legioen strives to restore the spiritual and moral integrity of the Boere nation, or Boer nation, which is embedded within the pride of the people and historic feature of the Boer nation. Boere nation, Boer nation. I know the English for, there was a big, someone was talking about it and someone was saying the other day, Boere doesn't mean farmers, it's Boere, and Boers are another word for a certain nation or folk, if you want to put it that way. We undertake to restore all aspects of culture which are already for a period of time systematically being undermined from the outside and from within through educating and nurturing it to its former self. This includes our language, history, and our norms and values. Furthermore, we strive to equip the Boere nation spiritually and physically in order for them to prepare to fight the current and future attacks and face the difficulties with the same resolve and courage shown by our ancestors, whose legacy and reputation we proudly hold during times of great hardship and various wars. At the Boere Legioen, Boere Legioen and Boere Legioen, we aim to achieve this by creating an atmosphere internally where each member, regardless of their financial capabilities, health status, gender, or age, can himself or herself at home and in the community feel safe and secure. Herewith, we will, through mutual respect, with the shared love of our nation, close adherence to the morals, norms, and values which our ancestors have held, work together to create a better home and future for our children and grandchildren. Through creating awareness and education in cooperation with other like-minded groups, we will collectively equip our people to secure, protect, and defend themselves against attacks on us now and in future. Their vision is stated to gather and equip the Boer people, which consists of every conceivable organization and body, as a national passive people's defensive force, displayed as a consolidated force in their diversity and demonstrating resistance against the increasing and promised hatred and violence against the population. The mission is to keep our citizens prepared in response to the threat by organizing them into platoons as self-defense groups, training them and empowering them against attacks from murder gangs, armed robbers, and ideologically driven political aggressors. To use competent military veterans who will assist the increasingly dysfunctional government to identify, detect, infiltrate, and hand over to justice the murdering gangs, armed robbers, and the ideology-driven political violence. To gather platoons from the military disciplines into visible public parades with other organizations where recognition is given of the good work done and the role played in the safety of the Boer people in towns, cities, and farms in the Republic of South Africa. So, that
was wordy.
I need to take a drink. That was a long read. I'm not much of a reader. I'm a chatter, but yeah. Okay, so that is basically, in a nutshell, I'm just taking off the Boere Legioen's front page, so that you can get a general idea. These guys are ex-military and ex-police. I do believe that many of them do hail from, I don't want to say they all hail from the previous regime, because I think many of them carried over 94 and have probably just retired during the last 25 years, because it's not like an old age home over there. There's a lot of young people in that as well.
Retired, or they've been handed their package, yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is, I almost wanted to say they're all pre-94, but they aren't pre-94. Got it. What's the name there? A comment. Linda van Rome says, do they at any stage define Boere? I don't think in this video, Linda, that they define Boere at all, and not on their page. They didn't define Boere, and that's why I, in my own as well, said Boers, because I'm not too sure where I actually looked at it. I don't think it was on one of their videos where someone was actually saying that Boere in South Africa, when you're looking at this type of movement, are more looking at a certain nation or people, folk, if you want to look at it as such, because a nice way that somebody said it is when the British used to say, "Ya come the Boers," they didn't mean "Ya come the farmers." It means "Ya come basically the South Africans that we were fighting at." Yeah. But nowhere, no. We can take a look again.
Look, no. Andre, I can tell you now, there's a specific reason why the Boere haven't been defined. I can almost guarantee you. Well, let me ask you this first. Linda and Andre, how would you define Boere without saying white South Africans? What else can you say?
How would you define Boere without saying white South Africans?
Because the moment you say white South Africans or die Afrikaner, you're going to have the government on your back. You're going to have the whole commando dissolvement again. So I actually think that it was relatively smart of them to refer to only us as die boere, and not saying, well, die boere is 'n klomp wit Suid-Afrikaners of die boere is 'n klomp Afrikaans sprekende mense, because that is the first thing that is going to be attacked by the government, to give the government or any left-wing faction in South Africa leverage to actually connect you to any form of hate speech, because I can almost guarantee you fart close to a courthouse when you're white and Afrikaans and you get locked up for hate speech. So I actually think it was specifically done that way. So yeah, you can say it's a good thing, you can say it's a bad thing. However, I think that was just for their own protection and their own continuity.
Look, to answer question, Linda, the Boere Legioen in that first page that I have seen does not define Boere at all, to give you a straight answer on that. Different people take it in different context. It's like Africans we were talking about on Sunday, and I said, well, if you're a South African and you're a South Afrikaner, but if you're an African and an Afrikaner are actually the same thing, but the minute you actually say it in English and you say it in Afrikaans, you end up defining it. If I say to you, you're an Afrikaner, you suddenly look at the first thing that comes in. Let's face facts. I mean, whether we believe this or not, whether it's our impression or not, most people, when you say I'm an Afrikaner, you think of a white Afrikaans speaking person. And the minute you say you're an African, you think of a black cultural person, or at least a black person. So the minute you say Afrikaner, you see white, and when you say African, you see black, on exactly the same word. South African, South Afrikaner. African, Afrikaner, same word. So it means you come from the southern tip of Africa. But when we look at it in our country, the minute we say African, you look black, and the minute we say Afrikaner.
Yeah, look, so like I said, I think there's a reason they did that. I actually think it might have been pretty smart. So as to not put a target on your back.
And I agree with Linda again here as well. Many and most, yes, sadly it's true. Most, and something does come up here, Linda. You've actually sort of scratched a nerve here, because something does come up in this video that I'm actually going to question the fact. And yeah, die meeste boere sien nie Engels sprekendes as boere nie. The most Boers don't see English people as Boers. You're either British or a Soti or a Roinek, or you can be anything. You're a European. You know what? Even those that don't really hold anything against a English person don't actually. And once again, when you say Boer, you see it as an Afrikaans-speaking South African, like Afrikaner. You say Afrikaner Boer, but if you say African Boer, you suddenly see a Xhosa farming in his little crawl or whatever. And you say Afrikaner Boer, and you see a dude on his tractor in the field. It's scary though, the way it differentiates. But anyway,
the big thing is, I honestly don't want to go down this path right now. I don't want us to get entangled in defining things and entangled in label that one list, because one thing that I have been seeing that not a lot of people have been discussing is we often hear from other white South Africans that when you take a look at the ANC, or when you take a look at the black African population in South Africa, it's abundantly clear that there are Zulus, Xhosas, Tswanas, Isipedi. They've got, and everybody knows what the struggles and battles are between them. But not a lot of people know, when you actually turn the light back to us, there are quite a few factions as well. I know of a couple of people who say, yeah, well, as jy Afrikaner is en jy's nie 'n boer nie, dan is jy deel van die boere nie, and they divide themselves like that. So it's always going to happen that when any big civil movement or civil rights movement starts lurking in the distance, you always see a united nation dividing within itself like a tree's got branches, man. This is where, when you take a look at South Africa, you see the left and the right. You associate those with colors and you think that's it. But if you actually take a closer look, you'd start seeing that, yes, there is white, there is black, there's Indian, there's colored, there's Asian, and each one of those communities, they've got their separate cultures, they've got their separate languages. Within each separate culture, as well as language, you do also find the left wing, the right wing, as well as the centrist. So if we're going to start entangling ourselves in labeling things and naming people and putting them in certain camps, this discussion will probably carry on up until we have our next live stream on Sunday. So I want us to take a step back, and not only us, the entire South Africa, to take a step back and stop before you start labeling people and just putting them in camps. And okay, that camp's got this ideology, that camp's got this belief, that camp has got this religion. I think we should be very careful of that. Take a look at what that's been doing in the United States for the last 20 years with regard to their politics. At this point in time, it's so much about left versus right that nobody actually takes a look at what the fuck you're actually supposed to do to serve your people. And I would hate to see that happen to South Africa right now, where we start taking a look at our own factions instead of actually focusing on what the point actually is. And that is to, first of all, diffuse racial tensions in South Africa by step one, stopping farm murders, getting in the way of the EFF. And we can only do that as a united front. We're never going to be able to do that if we keep dividing amongst ourselves. English-speaking Boer, Afrikaans-speaking Boer, white Boer, black Boer, Indian Boer. We can carry on for ages like that. And I don't want us to go down that rabbit hole. This is actually one of the points I wanted to make about the Boere Legioen as well. But before I do, let's maybe jump into that.
Okay, I just want to address one question here as well, or reason, because Linda's in on the conversation here as well, and stating about most Boere are seen as not English speaking, because the reason she asked us as a child, and I had the same thing as well, because as an English speaking child, and I went to in a small place in South Africa called Lime Acres. So it was a highly dual medium school with mainly Afrikaans children. And she says, I was asked as a child, I was often asked what an English child is doing in an Afrikaans school. Yeah, I had the same issues, because I think there were 3 of us English dudes in the whole school, and the teacher used to not the whole school, in the one class, and the teacher used to try and help us out on the side there. But and it was like, wat doen die Engelsman by die Boere? No, we actually, we're born here too. Ons is ook Boere. We're born too. No, you're not speaking English. Yeah. But what I want to get to the point here is I actually want to start on the speech and that's going through from Izak van Zyl, because I do believe that the actual defining and factioning of Boere and English and everything to that effect would possibly be a good swing for a whole show by itself, because we could probably go on, as you said, until next stream, and we haven't covered what we wanted to then yet. But why we've covered as much of this is to try and just give you a general idea. And I do believe, look, I don't think it's no secret that the Boere Legioen swings right. They're certainly not leftists, and they don't come across as central either. But there was a absolute little bit of a tangle with videos that went out and said, how can you say this and how can you say that? I know one of the things you'll hear him say was, how can you tell the women and children to go down to the dangerous area or something like that? And I don't know, but I don't want to back anybody, and I don't want to agree with anyone that disagrees, and I don't want to disagree with anyone that agrees. I want to do my own disagreeing and agreeing. So let's take a look. I'm going to do a share and then just shout stop or whatever, because I am in the middle of an absolute catastrophe here of trying to see what I'm doing. So please tell me if I'm not getting it right.
I think you're doing pretty well so far. There we go.
Is it there? Is it there? There we go. There we go. Right. So let's listen. That is.
On that Izak now, he's going to strip his moer because you didn't call him and you didn't put his name in caps. You wouldn't put GNL.
No, that's part of the video. That was just like a placeholder for the video. I did put General Izak van Zyl on the placeholder on the tab. What's with you and apostrophes and caps and things like that? This is a live stream, not an English lesson. We're all Boere after all.
It's actually ironic. I enjoy it because look, in the apology video he did, or his explanation video. I don't know exactly.
It was not an apology video.
After this, the video, he was very, very adamant on being called generaal and being called. Iemand 10 jaar ouer as jy is in my dae het jy hom fucking oom genoem boetie. I find it quite ironic that it's in small letters.
I looked at that as well, and he said, and when he talks to him, he says, "En die oom is nie kwaad vir jou nie." En I thought,
die oom is nie kwaad vir. Kom sit hier by die oom, dan gee die oom vir jou 'n toffee en dan kan ons 'n bier drink.
Anyway, so let's actually take a look at the point from which this comes. They probably, not probably, but my assumption, it's my personal assumption, and that they obviously have uniforms and everything like that. They have military uniforms, which they do. Yes.
Just stop there for a moment. There's a massive difference between calling something a military uniform and a paramilitary uniform. They don't wear military uniforms. If you speak about military uniforms in South African context, you talk about the SANDF. So I just don't want us to cause trouble. And people say, oh, they wear South African military uniforms. No, it's completely separate. It's a paramilitary uniform. So it comes across as it looks like a military uniform, but it's not affiliated to the SANDF at all.
I appreciate that. Then they wear a uniform. Then they are a uniformed, and they carry and they have rankings in that, and it is based very much more on a military structure.
Yes, absolutely.
And so what I do find them is pretty much very much more right wing, and why I do say that as well is I know when I watched the video clip of his explanation of what went on, and that he also explained about the war room that the leaders get to meet in, and that this leader from this group and one of the leaders from the group is from the RVB, and I thought, oh, you don't get far more right than the RVB. Not that there's many of these guys left, but I do believe, you know what, that we lean pretty much more heavily on the right leg than on the left leg. But with all due respect, with a police or a military mind, and obviously, dare I insult the person by saying when we play our little games and you want to play army, when I play World of Warcraft, I play Dungeons and Dragons. So you know what, I'm a wizard and you're a general.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I get shot at the stake for that. Yeah. But anyway, I'm not mocking. I'm just saying this is the game that or the point of view that their approach is like, we are a little army, okay, or a big army, whichever. But so you know,
your Instagram model. If you're a professional model on Instagram, that means I'm a professional sniper on Call of Duty.
There we go. Well, let's take a look at what he says. Starts off with, he gets onto the back of the bucky to address people. Apparently, they are at a place that's not far from the courthouse, not too far from the courthouse, but they're not at the courthouse. Ideally, he wanted to get everyone together. If all the bourge or all the people could have got together there and moved in, but no. And you know what? Being South Africa, you got more chance of falling pregnant than actually getting South Africans to stand together. But that's another story. Let's listen to this quickly. Can you hear?
There's no audio. That's okay, man.
The joys of not having my second screen. Let me try and redo my screens.
Yeah, so just while you're busy sorting that out, I think it's important to set the context that this was right before. Just play it quickly.
Yeah, this is before the well, it is the morning at Senekal.
So this was 12 2.
Don't say slag. It sounds like a battle. And it wasn't a battle. Actually, it was actually very amicable.
I'm referring to that because I actually want to get into that point after the video too.
Okay. Well, let's hear it out. Let's see me go with this.
No audio. Andre, the audio is incredibly low. The volume is very, very low.
I'm not going to get it any better than that. I can try. Let me see if I can pull this thing in another. I'm going to try and do it in media player.
Ons vra groot om verskoning vir die tegniese probleempies wat ons ervaar vanaand. Ons sal net gou terugwees na 'n paar minute. Ek weet nie wat sê hulle op SAK. Egbert Mosak, SAK, Cambodia.
You're being an ass. Let's see if this does it any better at all. It's the best I've got at the moment. Can you hear anything?
There's absolutely no audio coming through.
It was coming through just now, but then my screen broke. Let's try if I do that. No.
Hey, unfortunately.
Can you hear anything?
I can hear you, I can't hear him.
Okay, let me try something, but it's going to take a minute or two if you want to just chat about it. But anyway, it is basically how they handle
yeah, so basically this was the Boere Legioen's.
I do apologize for the little hiccup over there, but I'm going to run with it anyway. But I think they do swing right. I think, you know what, we've got to give them credit, even though it might not be it might not be what we agree with. What we've got to look at is the fact that they are handling it from their point of view, their situation.
Yeah.
You know,
they're handling it from a very militarized point of view. And I mean, if you take a look at any big government, any successful, strong government, you really often see politics, the political faction and the military faction so intertwined that it becomes one, basically. That we generally see that in communist states, but if you take a look, generally the president is the head of both, but he focuses more on politics than he does military, but he does have his general as his right-hand man, but the general does not make the decisions so as to when to shoot, what the points of engagement is. It's basically like the farmer's big dog. If there's somebody at the gate, you know that the dog's going to shout, the dog's going to start going crazy, but that dog is not allowed to go out and bite anybody unless the president, aka the owner, opens the gate and says "Fatom." So I think this is where a lot of people start blurring the lines a little bit, saying that, yeah, this is not somebody that I'd support or that I'd follow. It might not be, most definitely not. Politically, neither would I. I mean, I spoke last week about, you know, would you actually bank with a political party you support or that you vote for? And people need to keep in mind that die Boere Legioen is nie 'n politieke party nie. Hulle is nie. Ek dink hulle doen politiek baie goed nie. Hulle kan nou maar die Boere Legioen op my sit daarvoor, maar when it comes to when the shit hits the fan, those are the kinds of people that are going to save your life. Those are the kinds of people that know how to handle that. But we're not at that point in time yet. So I don't think it's necessary that their agenda gets pushed so hard right now, because it's not necessary that we have. It's good that they were there, but no, don't go fucking start a war. Nobody opened the gate for you. Nobody said fatom. So yeah, I think we often blur the lines in thinking that, oh my God, if these people take over South Africans and die boer is gefok. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think if we have more integration between the political calmer, dare I say, thinking people and the angry dogs that need to have the gate open or closed on them.
Look,
I don't know. That's my opinion on that. I don't think they should be political about it.
I actually didn't want to label the organization too much, because it's not that I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm
non-political military organizations. So they actually, I'm purely resonating and interpreting what they are actually calling themselves. So I don't think it's an insult from my side to say that they're not a political party, they're not a political organization aiming to, well, certain factions of them do aim to get their own sovereignty and their own separate nation, but it's not a fucking good idea. That's why they're not a political party. But they should stick with what they call themselves, which is a military faction which needs to be there when you need them, but also needs to act under strict instruction from somebody else than a oom who calls himself generaal that's not really politically inclined.
I just, what I was looking at and actually wanting to say is that he, just hang on, I think I might be able to get this going. Sorry, what I was wanting to say is that I don't think in any way his intention, I think his intention based on the structure and situation that he is in is very well meant. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean that his actions are correct, but I think his intentions are not of bad. So hence the reason I shall not base this video on the evil intentions of General Izak van Zyl, because I do believe wholeheartedly that in any which way he's doing, his intentions are not they are not bad at all, or I should say, oh crumbs, I just messed up again. His intentions are not bad or harmful, but his actions might not be correct.
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's his intentions are bad. I do think it comes from a very, very good and a very pure place. People need to keep in mind that anger is a very, very strong emotion. And I think his anger is in the right place too. I just don't think the decisions on the spot were necessarily correct. And I don't necessarily think they should play politics, but that doesn't mean that his intentions were evil. I think his intentions were most definitely 100% at the heart of where it needs to be. It's just how do you go about that, right?
So, sorry, Linda, I missed your note. I'm not too sure on which part your disagreement is, but maybe it's sound. Let's try this out quickly. I want to reshare to see if I can get audio into a Chrome tab and get him on like that.
En ons moet onthou, dat hierdie is 'n vlambare, plofbare situasie wat ons sal moet hanteer. En die beste manier om dit te hanteer is as ons onder beheer is, as ons onder orders is. Ek wil vir julle sê, die Boere Legioen, julle sien oupies met uniform hier rondloop. Wie het hulle gesien? Sien julle hulle? Ons het 40 van ons mense ontplooi om die dorp te beveilig wat op die gesamentlike operasionele sentrum gesit het. Wat saam met die polisie, die orde hier gaan handhaaf vandag.
See, he's very military. He speaks extremely militantly, you know, and we're going to deploy our people to ensure the safety. And once again, please let me not sound like I'm becoming sarcastic or anything about it, because I think his intention is genuine. I don't think he's playing a game there. His intention is genuine to protect the city and the people there.
Andre, I don't think you know, look, I speak from the context of coming from a military family. Look, I'm definitely not going to talk about my family's involvement with the military, but I do come from a strong line and of military, and this is how my dad basically is. This is how my uncle is. This is how a lot of my family and friends are.
You see?
I think a lot of people in the cities who aren't as familiar with the military and how Boere actually operates, this is nothing too strange. If you're talking about a lot of people and you're talking about movements, yes, the military guys are going to come out and take control and speak concisely. This is not necessarily, just an emotional response to what's happening. I just think this is the norm.
You got Linda saying there, the problem I see is when you are a parliamentary group, paramilitary, my beg your pardon, parliamentary. When you're a paramilitary group, you must not look for trouble. I really would not want to get involved with their leadership, as he is a hothead. Yes, he seems to be rather, you know what, you've got to listen to me. But then again, let me also come up in defense and say, he also, when you are dealing with a group of people, especially people who are paramilitary like that, you need to have a leader to organize them. It's like the EFF as well. They are very militant, whether they like to think of it or not or whatever. And if that, unfortunately, they don't have a strong leader, so that's why they fall around like sheep. In a sense like this is what they want. This is what the people want. They want someone to get up there and say, right, I am the regimental sergeant major. And this is what he did. He got up and he's like, we are deploying this and we need to, and this is a very plofbare. It is a very explosive situation. And, I don't know if I would have felt any different being there. I'm looking now from knowing that nothing went wrong and everything like that. I don't know if you were like expecting a war or you were expecting a battle or something to that effect. They are sure looking at it from that direction. Yeah, they're looking at it from that point of view, and it's, be careful for that assumption. We are going to ready ourselves for battle. And okay, fine, if you say so. But you know what? If the coin landed differently and there was a battle and these guys were in their formations and everything, and they did sort of save the day, I don't think we'd be smiling or possibly laughing about it like this. So I've got to flip the coin a little bit and say they haven't hurt anyone.
Yeah, but as he says, look, there's a plofbare situation. It is an incredibly volatile situation, and as you'll see as the speech carries on, a volatile situation like that does not need incredibly emotionally angry and inflammatory speeches to get a group of people riled up. This goes as far as inciting violence, and I think this is also what other YouTubers in South Africa might have not necessarily thought about. Is keep in mind, guys, why the fuck we were there in the first place. We didn't fucking go there for war. We went there to go peacefully protest and see what happens at a court case of a farm murder. We were there in solidarity. We weren't there to go start trouble. Now, I don't give a shit what all of these people say amongst themselves. I think South Africans need to take a step back and say, listen, okay, let's realign our thoughts. Let's realign our point of view to see why are we there in the first place. And this is predominantly what I disagree with what happened and what transpired and what was said here.
I think a lot of people were there, and with good right. I don't think it's a bad thing. Somebody's got to stand up and say, whoa, to a point and no more. But I think a lot of them were there with more reason than just supporting the court case. They were there to make a point of no more as well.
Yeah, of course. Look, and I can tell you now, if I was there, I would have been there too. But
to say we're fed up with this.
I most definitely was not going to get into my car and drive through to Senekal for God knows how many hours to go to war. Different
No,
story.
no.
Yes,
But-
I know it's a volatile situation. Yes, I know shit could hit the fan at any moment, and that's why I would have been protected, and that's why I probably would have been armed too. But the intention of going there was not to start a civil war. It was not to create division amongst people. I think our minds have started running away from us with a situation where we actually need to be a little bit patient, because I think what Izak one of his biggest mistakes here was that they started playing to the rules of the EFF. Our intentions were, we're going to rock up there in solidarity, but the moment EFF says, yeah, we're going to start a war, everybody took it seriously. And you need to take it seriously to a certain point, but not to this extent. Seriously, no.
Let's take a look at the video further, because I think you're commenting on what's to come still as well. But what we've got to take a look at, A, it does come through as military. B, he comes through as wanting to organize and call the shots and that, which I suppose they need. And C, he's wanting to protect. And D, he has mentioned very strongly that we work with the police.
Right. Ons is nie hier om 'n konfrontasie te gaan met ondersteuners van plaasmoordenaars nie. Julius Malema is 'n opportunist. Hy's niks anders as 'n opportunist nie. Hy sien die geleentheid om politieke punte te wen. En ons gaan hom nie die bevrediging gee om een druppel bloed van ons boere. And to the English newspapers in South Africa, that you are giving publicity to a terrorist.
Okay, Linda. Yeah, this will still come on again as well. This you don't think you send women and children ahead into battle? Yeah, we're going to get to that one as well still. But I am acknowledging your comment there. But this is where your statement earlier came in, where they don't see English as a Boer. And that's exactly what he's done here now. He's saying, and to the English newspapers, you are giving publicity to to the mainstream media newspapers. Whether it be Nis, 24, News 24, whatever, etc., etc., etc. But the minute he starts... Yeah, sorry, Network 24, whatever. But the minute you start defining English as an enemy, or English as an outcast, or English as against the grain, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Because how can you be catering or looking after all people? And I'm not saying he's not going to look after an English person, but how can you do that if you are if you're purely saying an English newspaper? But the Volksblad is cool. The Beeld is cool. Die Son is nog beter. Want hy het bladsy 3. No, I don't know. After bladsy. But you laugh. You looked at page 3 as well. Anyway, but what I'm saying is he refers to it as the English newspaper, and there definitely you can see that he's more on a Boere side. He believes in his Afrikaans nation type thing, and he doesn't want to go for confrontation. But let's take a look.
This is
wrong one there. Sorry, let's get to that. English newspapers get a hand when they get told to shut up.
Terrorist is 'n moordenaar. Enige terrorist is 'n moordenaar. Hy het geen gewete nie. Wat moet gebeur? Wat moet gebeur is dat die regering, the government must take note. The government must take note that we are busy coming together as a people. And as a people,
well, he's speaking English. I don't know if it's for the sake of the English newspapers, but anyway.
Belongs to us. Ons voorvaders het elke dorp in hierdie land gebou. Met hulle bloed, met hulle arbeid, en ons het toegelaat laat die vleermuise inkom en ons CB.
See, that's inflammatory language.
As much as what he's saying, we don't want to have confrontation. He
Exactly
has,
what I want to say now, yeah.
He's lit a couple of sparks already by differentiating English from what they are, because they're English newspapers. And then he's also gone and said that their forefathers built all the towns with their own blood, and then they went and let the bats, like little fruit bats or vampire bats, the bats in all over the place, which, as you said, is derogatory, because you are now referring to, you're avoiding to refer to a race, and so you would rather say bats. But you know what? When you are putting it in the context that you are, and in the way that he is, it's difficult to think otherwise. So it's, you know what? And unfortunately, as you said, we would be reliant on them to help us should anything go wrong. But I don't think the civil war will be as clean as what you said. It's going to be an absolute shit show if it does break out. And I think both sides are aware of the volatileness of that. But he's definitely almost sweeping them up together. His people definitely need a leader like that. That is what they want. That's what they look up to. And that's why he has to fill that role.
But also, Andre, taking a look at this once again, this is me playing the devil's advocate, or taking a look at this from a more psychological point of view, is, look, I work with languages, that's why I'm so full of crap.
Apostrophe, yes, it's going to the
and this and that. But if you did not speak Afrikaans at all, right, if you did not understand what this man said, now let's keep in mind that language alone and the words we speak only form a very, very, very small part of our communication. If you did not understand the language this man spoke, do you think you would interpret his body language, tone of voice, everything as somebody who is calling for, listen, we're not here for confrontation. We're not here to start a civil war. He says he's not there for confrontation, but you'll see what happens in the video anyway. I think most South Africans have seen this. If you didn't understand a word he said, his body language and tone of voice does not speak or give the same message as the words he actually speaks. And this confuses people. This incites stuff like tribalism. Us as Afrikaners are incredibly critical about the ANC and the EFF, and Africans in general, resorting to tribalism when it comes to a situation like these. But this is a very clear example of how you actually force people into tribalism, which is something that is not going to work. I mean, this is not a peaceful message. His tone of voice, it makes you feel skeptical about what this guy is saying. You can't build trust with people that way.
Actually, I think in his people you do, because he's actually building a togetherness. But if you look from the outside, inside, it does look like a total military general commanding his troops. And when you look at a military general commanding his troops, you think of war or battle or something like that. We had... Love that one, Linda. You lost me at forefathers, yeah.
Familiar language in the South African vernacular, isn't it?
Yeah, he said, that they built it and everything. And so I agree. He comes out like that. Once again, it's what his people need is this like military general commanding his troops, and they are loyal to him as such, and that is what they expect from him, and he needs to fill that role to control them. Otherwise they're going to be lost and I should say unorganized. So in a way, if everybody would accept one leader to actually organize them, the problem is there's too many people who want to become leaders in the process. But let's carry on a little bit now. Jeez.
Kom ons gaan op ons knieë.
We're going to go on our knees and pray.
Die Onse Vader.
Our Father.
Want Jesus het vir sy disippels gesê, plan, as julle wil ingaan dorp toe. Kan ek 'n aanduiding kry wie wil ingaan dorp toe?
Okay, yeah, I'm just trying to translate a little so that we can get further than forefathers here as well. He's basically asking his people who wants to go into town, to raise their hands to see who wants to go into town.
Alright, ek dink die meerderheid het gesê ons gaan in dorp toe.
Okay, and there he's come to the conclusion that the majority have said that they want to go into town.
Maar kom ons wys vir die internasionale pers, kom ons wys vir die hele wêreld, ons is gedissiplineerd.
And then he's insisting that they show the international press and the world that they are disciplined.
Hier is wagte.
That there are guards.
Hier is wagte.
They have guards.
Kom ons vorm 'n militêre formasie. Ons het nie uniforms nodig om militêr te wees.
Okay, there is saying, let's form a military formation. We don't need uniforms, but we can form a military formation. I'm just going to let this
formation, yes.
I'm just going to let it play to the end of that, and then we can chat on it. Okay, yeah, yes, someone saying, yeah, this is Linda. This is where you came up as well. And he said, you know what, the after his reference to English newspapers. Yeah. Yes, someone actually saying to him that the woman should stay behind. And then he says, and then I actually only heard this one now as well, because the first time I assumed it was let the woman stay behind. But I'm hearing the person say, let the woman stay behind, not necessarily, but behind the platoon, at the back of the platoon.
Typically, what that guy said that I think a lot of people missed is not, he says, don't you maybe think, dink jy nie miskien of dink jy nie dalk die vroumense, don't you maybe think, now this already, as somebody who can think further as his nose, tells me that if you want to be a very organized military organization, you say you've planned this tactically for a very long time,
they didn't have much time.
While you're giving your speech, somebody says, hey, you might have not thought this through, don't you maybe think, and let's carry on.
But they didn't. But listen to this. I also thought that this gent was actually advising them to put the woman and leave the woman and children behind. And Yari actually says, should the women and children not stay behind? And he says, not here, but behind the platoon, in the platoon. Listen to what he says again.
Yeah. Andre, can you quickly carry on with that? It just started raining. I just want to close up. Just give me a couple of seconds.
Internasionale pers. Kom ons wys vir die hele wêreld. Ons is gedissiplineerd. Hier is wagte.
Now you listen to someone saying to him.
Kom ons vorm 'n militêre formasie.
Rather quiet, so yeah, so there he says, Esa, let the woman just stay behind. And then he said, not behind here, but behind in the column. So he's still wanting the women and children to go ahead. I actually want to play it again for you, Nelius. Just listen to what the guy says.
Yeah,
he says,
I got all of the audio. I got all of the audio. Yeah.
But listen to the quiet part, Jay. He says, let the woman stay behind, not behind here, but behind in the platoon. Listen.
Ons is gedissiplineerd. Hier is wagte. Hier is wagte. Kom ons vorm 'n militêre formasie. Ons het nie uniforms nodig.
Military formation. Oh,
ja. Die vrouens word deur die mans beskerm. Agter of in die middel van die parade. En ons marseer in gelid van 5 of 6.
Again, not completely certain. And it's easy to do the woulda shoulda thing, but
hier is militêre manne wat die bevel kan gee. En ons marseer op die telling van die korporaal. Marseer ons hier op. En ons is hier.
Okay. Yes. That's what I do disagree with as well. But there are two sides to the coin as well, which I did agree with his video that he came across with. First of all, it's still very, very, very military. You know what? We're still playing military tabletop games here. Let's march down in a platoon in columns of 6. And we will march. There are military people here who can give the orders, and we will march to the order of the what's the two-striper? No, the two-striper was the corporal.
Wait, corporal, yeah.
Yeah, we'll march to the orders of the corporal. And then the guy says to him just before that, he says, you know what, maybe the women and children should stay behind. And I also thought, okay, well, he's correcting him. At least somebody's correcting him, like you said. Yeah. But he said, not behind, but at least in the behind at the back of the platoon. And that's where he said, well, the women and children need to be protected by the men or the woman. I don't know if he mentioned children there. I might be putting words into his mouth. But the women need to be protected by the men in the middle or at the back. No, women should not be sent into a volatile situation. Although in his say it was not in any danger, but if he says in his video afterwards there was not in any big danger, why are they making out that it could be volatile? You know what? Which is it? Is it volatile or is it not volatile? Yeah, that's what I want to know. Because if it wasn't volatile and the woman could have gone down, then okay, you know, no worries. But if it is volatile, like he has stated, then preferably the woman shouldn't go. But on another point of basis, you got pretty tough cookies over there. And when he said, who wants to go down, most of the women stuck their hand up as well. So now would you go? No, we are, you know, I don't know, but yeah, you shouldn't send ladies into a volatile situation. If you've stated it's volatile, which he did on the back of the truck over there, you should say, ladies, please just hang behind. When everything is fine and the men are there, we will send someone back and say, okay, you know what, you guys can come in now. I didn't say that they should not be allowed there, but at least get only the people who you are happy to have there over there first, or happy to face any volatility, and then come back and say, okay, it's all right, come in now. But don't like, oh, well, we don't know what to expect, but the more we are, the better we look type of thing. Yeah. And then he's very militant in like, we'll form columns of 5 or 6 and we will march to the corporal's orders. And you aren't military, dude. You're not military. You know, maybe you should just stroll down. How's that sound?
let's take a walk. But also another thing that comes to mind is, Andre, you know, you're married. I'm not married, but I can only imagine if I had a girlfriend or a wife, as somebody who has been in volatile situations, if I know there is the smallest chance of shit hitting the fan and one bullet being shot,
I'd send my wife first. No, I'm kidding. I did not say that. I did not say that on freaking National Street. I'm editing this video before it.
You fucking derailed my entire.
Sorry.
You know, this is what I enjoy about the NA chat. Cheers, man. Enough of your blood stuff.
I'm gonna edit this. Hang on, we've got to stop the chat. I need to edit it right there. Anyway, but
no. In all seriousness, though, if I was there and I knew there was a chance that one bullet was going to be shot, I wouldn't really want my wife and my kids anywhere close there. And to be honest, I wouldn't trust the entire South African National Defence Force to protect my wife and my kids in a situation that could potentially turn violent in a million years. No, I wouldn't send them in there. I wouldn't send them with a protection of 1,000 different men. Prevention is better than cure. In martial arts, we say if you can walk away, walk away. If you are going to walk in there with military uniforms on the orders of your sergeants and corporals and colonels, how do you think that's going to look to the mobbing, high and drunk EFF crowd that's violent, hungry, standing and waiting there for you? If those people march down on you, come on, man. The difference in that only this is where everything started going south for me, because I think this is where he started. He doubted himself a couple of times there when he got advice, and I think this is where emotion might have taken over, and where that might have played a bigger role in his decisions and what he says from here.
Yeah, look, first of all, as I said, I do believe that people want a leader and they need to follow a leader. And his decisions need to be respected, but his decisions need to be pretty wise. And sometimes, look, I even make wrong decisions in my roles these days as well. And sometimes in a leadership role, you do make wrong decisions. But you've got to be careful at how explosive they are. And just actually, he should have made a hard decision. He shouldn't have put it up there. And, it doesn't help saying, well, I meant this and I meant that. You know what? As they say, every single phone has a camera on it, and you are on camera. And by saying women and children, that was wrong.
People will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah, well, and he makes these people feel important because they are part of a military regime. Yeah, not everyone
military. The feeling he got across, he got everybody in a very tribalist mindset that, oh shit, okay, we're walking into something that's going to be volatile right now. And he needs to keep in mind that he's not talking to trained soldiers. Look, if you talk like that in front of trained soldiers, by all means, perfectly fine. But he's talking to a lot of people who don't have military training, who don't have military involvement, who aren't familiar with these concepts and disciplines, and that could stress people out. And stressed out people in volatile situations become violent and tribalist.
Let's go.
It's a psychological fact. So I don't think.
Hey, we're not going to sell products.
Fuck him for that, though.
You're going to stand in your formation at the court. Keep quiet. If they swear at us, don't look at them. If they throw stones, don't look at him. The police will do their work. The leaders will communicate with the police. And this is a problem. Basically, I just want to stop it there so I can carry on translating for anyone who's not Afrikaans. If today they go over the line that is drawn in the sand, and one boer gets shot by a policeman, unnecessary, then I will get onto that stage.
And dis my belofte.
And it's my promise.
Then I will lead my people into war.
Then I will lead my people into war. No.
I will lead them into war. And we will prepare.
Right. Andre, just give me stop there.
It's not a war that we declare. They declared the war against the white people 25 years ago. All we have to do, all that we have to do is to accept the invitation.
Okay, problem there that I have with what he said again as well. So, I know a big thing went up about women and children, but he also once again brought the color barrier into it. First of all, he said if you just shoot one boer, if a policeman shoots one boer, although he said work with the police, and he said,
work with the police.
Yeah, if they shoot, he's going to get up on that stage, declare war, and lead his people into war. And then he says because they declared war 25 years ago, and that's basically when we did the referendum vote to abolish apartheid. So he's basically his timeline for declaring war was 25 years ago when apartheid was abolished, and he's saying they declared war on the white person. So he's now making it a color issue again, which it isn't. It isn't a color issue. I mean, we know that for a fact. It's not a color issue yet, but he's making it that, which once again points to right-wing, never mind tendencies, to right-wing absolutely falling into the right pot. And he says, you know what, they declared the war and we need to accept the invitation. Just want to take a look up here. Linda says, I have some ex-military men in my family, and some of these guys have forgotten they are no longer in the military. Sadly, that's why I said in the beginning, we've got to look at where it comes from. These guys have, you know what, life is approached in a military form. Everything's approached in a military form. I suppose if you're a scientist, everything is scientifically approached. You know, and if you're a teacher, you're trying to tell people where they've left out their apostrophes and things like that. I'm sorry. I'm kidding, yes. But you know, but what I'm saying is, I think in the profession that you have been long enough is what you, especially if you've had an emotion to it or you've actually connected with it. But he also clearly comes from the old regime, and that is why he's also decided already that, you know what, this is a black-white confrontation.
Yeah.
He's forgetting that there are many black, white, colored, Indian, have I left any color out, people that just want peace, that just want to live together. There is no declaration of color war. There's a declaration of a need for peace. It's tiring. I sent out a thing the other day, and we will bring it up. We're running so far over time. We're only halfway through this video. But you know what? He's riling up people. He is inciting a black-white difference. And this is the problem. Black people are bringing up their children, and leaders are, and we can see it in the ANC. The ANC does it. The EFF does it. They say black, white, black, white. Our president does it. Julius Malema does it. Why do you, on the other side, who is saying let's not cause trouble, then go and incite a black-white scenario? You are indoctrinating your people with that. Oh, jeez. Oh, good. This one screen thing isn't working.
We will not do that. As for now.
We're not going to accept the invitation.
We will not stand off to exercise our right to protest against farm murders. We will not stand off of our right.
I agree with that.
We are afraid. We are not
Maar de overtuiging plek vir alles.
Kan ek net vra, iemand nie so toe gaan nie. Ons gaan 'n kerkdiens hou.
Okay, he's just telling them that those who don't go down, that they'll have a church service.
Why do you think he said that? Why do you think he said that?
Ons kan nie daartoe gaan, manne. Ons kan nie dinge doen as ons nie die teenwoordigheid van die Here dit doen nie.
I beg your pardon, Ninius, you were busy saying something there?
Why do you think he came up seconds after that speech was delivered and said, if you don't want to go, because what a lot of people don't do is they don't actually take a look at the faces of the crowd. They don't take a look at the body language of the crowd. They don't take a look at how the crowd is responding and what they actually said to this guy before. I think a lot of those people were scared shitless, like, holy shit, I came here to stand in solidarity, but this fucking guy is talking about uniforms and corporals and let's go to war. Like, what the this is not what I came here for. And I do think that sentiment was echoed in some people in that crowd. Might have not been like, oh no, I don't want to do that. Might have been like, hey, are you sure about this, man? Maybe we should go join AfriForum of daar waar die worsbroodjies verkoop. You know? So have you ever seen a strong, prominent leader stand up and deliver a message and say, this is where we're going to go? And the second after he does that, his deputy comes and is like, yeah, look, if you don't want to do that, we're going to have church over there. So, you know, there's no clear leadership, and I understand that I wasn't there. I didn't feel the emotions, and it's very easy.
It would have been different.
Situation, what you should have done. But look, at this point in time, I think this has seriously been derailed. At this point in time, this is where strong leadership needs to actually stand back and say, okay, listen, emotions are getting a little bit high at this point in time, and it might be my fault. It's translating into the people I'm actually talking to right now. And if we're already feeling like this here right now and everybody's starting to buzz, the energy is clear through the video. If you actually get there, do you think it's going to be calmer over there? Get the fuck out.
No, look, I think it's far too easy for us to be sitting safely, even us being so far away and passing comment, than being there and saying, listen, I need to now control a crowd of people that are depending on me. So, you know, in one hand, he has a very difficult task because he is in a paramilitary group that need a leader, that need someone to guide them, that need someone to put them in a structure. Ideally, he would have liked everyone there to be in a structure. You know, once again, South Africans can't stand together. So this one's got their group, that one's got their group, and this one's got their group, and they all feel differently. You know, and you can't reach over extreme. You can't be shouting color barrier. But at the same time, he has a very, very difficult job to do, is to like try and lead these people, which is what they have. A lot of the people have put him on that pedestal, not maybe him himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I'm almost more offended by the fact that he's inciting a color difference than the fact that he was actually wanting to put women and women to the back. Because here you can get a lot of women fighters. And I agree with what you're saying, that a lot of people might have felt fear in their hearts. It's each person to their own. Some of them might be wanting to attack, others might be in fear, and others might be brave. But then it's like any military group. In any military group, you get your bards or your music players, you get your fighters, you get your support services, which will give you your food and make the food and make sure that your fuel is there and your clothes are mended and the sick are cared to. And those that pray. I think that's a very good trait of theirs, though. You know, let's take a look at something good as well. From my point of view, I think it's very good because I think South Africa lost their religion 25 years ago. You know, I know people that watch the stream or rewatch the stream might go, you know, Andre, did you like lose it in the side there? No, you know what, I am a Christian, and I do believe that South Africa lost their religion 25 years ago, because nothing comes into that anymore. And I think they still have strong morals in their Christianity, and that's why, like, let us go and have our church service, and we will pray while the rest go in. And you know, it's almost like a battle, and this is once again they're creating the theme of a battle. And Linda's put a comment there. I did not forget your comment. And so she says there, so him and Malema got stuck on color. I don't want to compare him to Malema. I do believe in my heart that this man has more integrity than Malema.
Oh yeah,
although he is far right, I would say, or right captured or something, or whatever you want to call it. And I do believe that he is wrong in inciting color. And that is probably a parallel that he has with Malema. Malema puts in color, Ramaphosa puts in color. We have too many leaders putting in color, and you can't put a leader up there as well in the Boere Legioen and have him incite color as well, because then you're not making the change. You're not saying to people, we need to accept everyone.
This is not a way forward. This is not a way forward.
Yeah. Let's take a look, see further.
As ons nie gaan en God vertrou dat hy die enemy met blindheid sal slaan nie. Dis nie nodig vir bloed nie. Dis nie nodig dat ons moet gaan en dinge doen wat ons gaan spyt wees oor nie.
Basically just saying that you need to trust God, but it's also important that there's no need for blood, and there's no need to go and do things that we are going to be, or that we are going to regret.
Ons moet gaan want God is met ons. En as ons dit doen, sal ons oorwinning hê in ons land teen die vyand.
Okay, I think that guy is maybe a bit of a minister, because he's saying that we need to go with God, and if we do, we will have victory over our enemy.
Wie is die vyand? Dis die vyand wat deur mense werk. Hy word genoem die duiwel. Ek wil vir julle sê,
he's now referring to the devil as the enemy.
As ons toelaat om daartoe te stap, maar jou hart en jou gees is nie met God ingestel nie, dan gaan jy in vlees optree en mense gaan seer kry.
Okay, basically, yeah, he's still on a religious thing there. It says, if you go and your heart isn't with God, but it is in flesh, you are going to do things that are going to cause people to get hurt. And yes, I do agree with you. You have to have a different temperate mentality.
So ek wil vir julle sê, manne, As jy so toe stap, maak seker jy stap so toe en jy weet jy kan jouself beheer. As jy jouself nie kan beheer nie, vra ek vir jou kom gebied die diens. Ons gaan 'n kerkdiens hou terwyl jy so toe stap. Gaan ons 'n kerkdiens hou. Ons gaan die Here vertrou dat daar geen bloed sal vloei nie, dat daar geen moeilikheid sal wees nie. In die Bybelse tyd was die eerstes aangestel en as hulle uit God se wil uit was, het die Here hulle geslaan met blindheid.
Okay, basically he's saying that if you can't control yourself because they're trusting that there will be no violence and no blood, and that if you feel that you can't control yourself or you can't keep yourself under control, that you rather stay and enjoy the church service, and trusting in the Lord that if there is anyone who wants to become violent, especially in your enemy side, I'm assuming, that they will be inundated with blindness. Listen to me, I could become a minister.
Ons vertrou dat die Here Julius Malema en almal wat teen hierdie dinge is en wat al ons mense verwoes en doodmaak. Johannes 10 vers 10 sê, die vyand het gekom te steel, dood te maak en te slag.
Yeah, basically he's saying that John 10 verse 10 says the enemy came to steal, kill and to murder.
Maar Jesus het gekom sodat ek en jy lewe en lewe in oorvloed kan hê.
And Jesus came so that we could life in abundance. Don't go.
As jy nie jouself kan beheer nie.
If you cannot control yourself, don't go.
Kom, 'n goeie soldaat weet om op 'n instruksie te wag.
Okay, basically what he's saying is that it is very important because a good soldier knows that he needs to wait on an instruction.
Daar gaan ons weer van die geestelik na die beestelik.
Yeah, you know it's from the teacher, from the preacher to the general, you know, from the pastor and the general. I won't say tyrannic. I don't think he's being. I just think he's on the wrong track. I don't want to soften it. You know what? He's wrong. It's wrong to do that, and I know I'm going to get sorted for that because a lot of people are going to disagree with me, even the people who made his statement wrong. But and now he's saying even more is wrong, but it is wrong.
To be honest with you, look, and we are running a little bit over time right now. We can sit and pick arguments apart until we go blue in the face. If people don't agree with what we have to say, I quite frankly do not give a shit. I see, my opinion is my opinion, and this is my opinion. I think at the end of the day, look, Boere Legioen is necessary. Ons het hulle nodig. I still support their movement. Call it what you may. I don't think the execution of this was really well. I think they're very well morally grounded, but we need to understand that this is not the final chapter, you know. What I would like to see happen here is someone like Izak Nel actually start taking the criticism from everywhere he's getting it, and instead of being incredibly defensive about it, like, you know what, screw you guys, I'm going to do what I'm doing. A real good leader and a real good manager, a real good leader in any sense of the word, should be open to criticism and should be open to recognizing their own mistakes. And what I would have liked to see happen after this was Izak Nel coming out saying, all right, guys, listen, yes, I understand in the heat of the moment, things might have gotten out of control. I apologize for, you know, if I came across that way. We can all thank God that nothing actually went wrong after what I said, because he could have put people's lives in danger. But I would have liked to see him come out and saying, you know what, I've actually learned a lot. This experience has taught me a lot on how to work with the media, how to work with people, how to keep my emotions in check when it's actually a volatile situation, when people need direction and leadership. I need to focus more on thinking logically and not necessarily relying on a impulsive emotional response. I think, you know, nobody becomes a really good leader by being born a good leader. We learn how to become leaders, and how we learn to become leaders is by making mistakes and accepting the criticism we get from that, and distinguishing between what is actually constructive criticism and taking that and building that into the core of where we are going, well, wherever it is that we want to go forward. At the end of the day, if you take those things and build it into your philosophy as a leader, I think you can learn from your mistakes and you can become a better leader from that. And it's look, they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks, and I don't think being a little bit more egalitarian and a little bit more open to criticism necessarily is teaching Izak Nel something that he does not know. I mean, I've seen quite a lot of his material, and I do think that just coming out and saying, listen, emotions were incredibly high. Yes, I fucked up a little bit by saying that. I take that. I acknowledge that as your leader. I'm going to try and do my best at the next time I actually get on stage. I'm going to try and get my message across by using logic and Christianity as the fundamental underscoring or underpinning of what we stand for, instead of relying on anger, emotion, race baiting, and rhetoric that, quite frankly, just pushes people into a tribalist mindset. So I do think there is something positive and something good that come out of this, because this is not the final chapter.
Yes, I just want to highlight what Linda said. She didn't mean he was the same as Julius Malema, but drawing a parallel. Yeah, sadly, as I said, I don't want to, but yes, there are parallels where they both refer to color, which creates a division. They have, I would say, in similarities. I would say that they both have a military similarity. Whereas I think General Izak van Zyl has a more disciplined approach, where Malema has a more gung-ho, warmongering attack approach as such, where, you know what, when you, I don't know if it's fortunate or not fortunate, I believe it was fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be in the military in South Africa. I was drafted, and they, I think you have certain integrities and that built and drilled into you, which I think he grasps the concept of it. So, but they both are able to incite their people to follow them. So when it comes to being a leader, I think he's a very good leader. I think he just needs to sometimes caution about which way he's leading, because I agree with you. You need to sometimes just lead in the right direction. You can't lead into the past. You've got to lead into the future. And I think when you're looking at dividing people, you are leading into the past. And dividing people is by color, by language, by race. So I'm not saying that he's squeaky clean. Yes, he, unfortunately, Linda, you're correct, that he does have parallels. I just don't think he has the violent and unreasonable tendencies. He still has the reason of, we don't want violence, but we're prepared to deal it if it comes our way. And yes, I think they're going to, you know, let me not swear, but yeah, should shit hit the fan. I tried not to, but yeah, should it hit the fan, I think we would be very reliant on groups who have been survivalists or planning this, like the Boere Legioen, to take control of volatile situations. So I suppose they do have their place in our country, but unfortunately the whole country is not going to agree with their concept of going forward, or should I say going backwards to go forward. If the whole, and the whole country doesn't agree with going forward peacefully either. As I said, they're both military groups, or paramilitary groups, or whatever, sorry. But unfortunately, yes, when it comes to my people, white people, English people, creating a division, he does tend to sometimes have the parallel with Julius, but where Julius speaks without reason and empathy, I think General Izak Nel speaks with integrity and empathy, even though it might not be what we agree it to be. I don't know if you agree with what I'm saying there. Let's carry on.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think, once again, the intention was incredibly pure. I just think, I just think the execution was a little bit over emotional, and that's where it derailed. And Andre, I think you perfectly summed it up by saying this is something I think that all of our leaders might need to tattoo on the inside of their eyelids, is we need to focus on leading into the future and not leading into the past. My God, that's probably the most prominent thing I've ever heard you say. That's incredible.
You're saying I'm dumb and I just come up with a lucky shot every now and then.
You legend, but in all seriousness, I think you've got it spot on. We need to lead into the future, not into the past. And once again, we need to distinguish who is going to say what at what occasion. Are you going to give me a tequila in a coffee cup? No, you're going to give it to me in a shot glass. If it's not tequila time, don't take the shot glasses out, you know. When it comes to actually talking about the rhetoric, what needs to happen, let the politicians deal with it. Let the more experienced public relations, openbare betrekkinge people deal with that.
He was actually in public.
Deal with stuff like that, but when the shit actually hits the fan, when somebody actually gets assaulted, or yes, that great. Get your troops together, get them information, and go for it. But I just think the time and the place wasn't necessarily there, and I think there's a very valuable lesson in Boere Legioen for them to actually take away from this. I'm really thankful that something like this didn't happen when the shit actually might have hit the fan. Rather, it happened now, so that they can see where our own pitfalls are, instead of that happening when we've actually got a threat on our doorstep and we've not had this experience before. So I think there's a lot of positive that can come out of this. I just think that the emotionally more stable and emotionally level-headedness is going to be a massive factor in who is actually going to win this battle.
Yeah, look, he actually comes from PR, public relations, in the police force, and he has a wealth of information and ability and competency from that. And you can actually see that in the way he's able to communicate and speak and convey. I just want to go to Linda's comment as well. She says, I'm not anti the whole movement. I was just against what happened. And Linda, this is exactly what we are saying as well. We're not anti the movement. We agree with you. We're not anti the movement either, but we disagree with.
No, I'm definitely not.
What? You're not anti?
I'm definitely also not General Izak Nel. I'm not against him.
I think
but I am
very nice
be critical about things like this.
Look, and I don't think I've got the attitude of my opinion's my opinion. If you don't like it, you know what, fuck off. But I am open to change, but I'm open to change my mind reasonably and put down your facts behind it. So you know what, I still, as you say, I still reserve the right to my opinion, but I also reserve the right to change my opinion if you want to explain it to me differently and you can actually convince me. I'm open to be convincing. I'm not one of those like, bro, just this way, this way, and all reason falls in the way, and I'm not prepared to look at it. But yeah, I think
that is the mindset that is causing a lot of the issues in South Africa right now. Is people are this way. There's and on something like this, yes, mistakes have been made, but it's not going to turn me completely against what their movement is about. I just think they've got very, very valuable lessons that they can take away from this by virtue of mistakes that they have made. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a leader acknowledging mistakes that they have made openly and publicly. I don't think that shows any form of weakness. To the contrary, I think that actually shows quite a lot of strength, and that's going to get you quite a lot more support than actually kicking back against the criticism you receive.
No, I agree. It's just he's got to just come central a bit more. He can't lead so right, unfortunately, but he's a good leader, and I think his intentions once again are good. But let's just carry on a bit there.
Moenie uit eie beweging gaan optree nie.
Okay, don't
act in your own impulses.
Yeah, thank you. Don't act in your own impulses.
As jy nie 'n wapen aan jou sy het wat bedek is en nie 'n lisensie daarvoor het nie, bly hier.
Yeah, if you have a weapon that is on hip or whatever, and you don't have
if you don't have a concealed weapon on you that you are 100% licensed for, do not go.
There we go. Thank you.
Ek wil amper voorstel dat die vrouens en kinders
Kom na die kerk.
dalk hier bly.
Okay, this is where he actually finds sanity.
Yes.
Says, I would like to suggest, and this is what seems to have been left out of the lot one. He says, I would like to suggest that the women and children stay here and rather attend the church service.
And you see, he's calmed. When he says this, you can clearly see his demeanor and everything has calmed down significantly.
His
And
emotion has changed.
Exactly. Once he becomes more calm, he can deliver a message much more effectively.
Mm.
Kom na die kerk toe.
Ons gaan nou, as julle hier beweeg, ons het 'n hele worship team wat reg is daar, wat reg staan. Ons geniet die diens, ons vertrou die Here. Dan mag nie bloed vloei nie.
Okay, basically just saying that, you know what, come and enjoy the service, etc. Blood may not flow.
Dan mag nie.
They may not.
Die vyand oorwin, want ons geveg is nie teen vlees en bloed nie, maar teen die bose gees.
Okay, it's just saying that the fight isn't against flesh and blood.
So mag ons dit doen.
Okay, who's this guy? Hein, dare I say Marx? I'm not too sure.
Can't remember his surname for the life of me.
It might be Hein Marx, who was with ULA or something like that. I'm not too sure. He was also with Chris Wyatt the other day. Very, very interesting. Guys, if you want to listen to some, there's Izak van Zyl has put a video out on his own. Obviously, he's not very happy with certain things that have been said against him. And I think Chris Wyatt had a very, very intellectually good conversation with this Hein as well, which I suggest you maybe go and take a look at Chris Wyatt and maybe Izak van Zyl's videos.
Is 'n baie plofbare situasie.
Once again, they're now referring to being a volatile situation.
Baie mense sê daar's genoeg is genoeg.
Many people saying enough is enough.
Wie wat? Om hier te bly, praat ons net weer.
Okay, so he says if we just stay here, we're just talking again.
Die wat wil gaan, daar gaan ons.
Those that want to go, let's go.
Maar wees voorberei.
But be prepared.
But vir die wat dit nie weet nie.
And
Die eerste mense weet dit hier.
I think this was wrong, but anyway, he says for those that don't know, most people don't know it.
Onthou net, as hier 'n burgeroorlog uitbreek, kan ons outomaties 'n unilateral declaration of independence verklaar.
So if a civil war breaks out, you can automatically declare, what's it, unilateral declaration of independence.
Wat beteken dit?
What does that
Die
mean?
regsproses wat ons al 8 jaar mee, 7 jaar mee besig is.
Means the legal process that we've been busy with for the last 7 or 8 years
Beteken ons kan ons onafhanklikheid kry.
means that we get our independence.
Ek wil julle moet verstaan.
So,
Ons is nie hier vandag net om te staan en praat of Facebook warriors
okay, he's basically saying we're not here just today to just talk or Facebook warriors.
of keyboard warriors
Oh, keyboard
of whatever ons baie mense wil noem nie. Wat hier gebeur is 'n werklike verandering in ons totale samestelling in hierdie land.
So basically what's happening today is a change in our total compilation of our land. He's going over it.
Verstaan dit. En niemand, ek wil dit weer sê, niemand gaan jou snaaks kyk as jy nie wil gaan nie.
Okay, and he's just reassuring everyone that nobody is going to look at you badly or think badly of you if you don't go.
My persoonlike gevoel is, asseblief, wil ek ook vir julle sê, die vrouens en kinders moenie saamgaan nie.
Okay, there is reiterated as well as what Izak van Zyl said. The women and children do not go with, mustn't go with.
Asseblief nie.
Please not.
Okay.
Kan ek net iets sê? Ons wie volunteer om te ry om hulle te gaan haal?
Okay. that puts the end of my stress of trying to flip and will work on one screen with a million other screens.
Yeah, look, Andre, that second guy is completely Hein. He's completely obvious. I like the way he delivers his message, but also keep in mind, once you start promising minorities in any country that's been struggling for more than 26 years with murders and brutal violence, once you start promising them unilateral independence via a court case they've been busy with for 8 years, they're going to want to take up arms. They're going to want to do that. Take that same scenario and play it out in any different country, race, religion. If you promise those people at that point in time, hey, you guys are rolled up, so let's leave the women and children behind. If you want to go, let's go. But we're going to walk into war right now. That's basically how I interpret that. I personally don't agree with the unilateral independence thing. I don't think that the way forward and the way leading forward would be white South Africans declaring independence. I think that would set us back so many years, not even talking about the financial and economical impacts. It's not the right way to go. And if you start promising people complete independence and making on-the-spot promises like that, I don't think that's a good thing, man. That would incite certain people to, okay, well, this guy said, if the shit hits the fan today, I'm getting my independence. And he's a lawyer. Hey, I'm believing this guy. I cock over my gun and I go walk into war. And that's not what we need right now. That's not why we were there. Remember, silent protest in South Africa from the Boere community now speaks louder than any violence does. So why is it that we want to keep falling for the same thing over and over again? And why do we want to stoop to the level of the EFF? If they call us out saying, let's go to war, yes, I'm an Afrikaner myself, I'm a Boer myself, I understand. Don't threaten me. Don't threaten my life. But this is not a situation where we can let our emotions prevail. This is not where we want to say it's not going to be a utopia when we get our own independence. Most definitely not. It's going to be a primitive thing that doesn't matter which way you play it out. So I don't agree with that message either. And I think for the more simple-minded folk amongst our own, you need to think about how people interpret what you say. And this is where I personally think that AfriForum is doing so much better right now with the message that they put out and actually selling hot dogs to people who rocked up. Because you know what? The United Nations is not going to give you unilateral independence and send all of their military forces to come protect a minority in South Africa, especially with what's happening in the world economic stage right now. Just because of a small confrontation, and by me saying small, I'm not downplaying it, but small compared to other confrontations going on around the world. Do not think anybody is going to come and save us. There is no. You don't trust in the court system when it comes to actually Julius Malema and getting him behind bars. Why would you trust the court system to go through with a court case that not a lot of people are familiar with, to give us independence, which would basically set us back to a segregated country again? Why would it? Doesn't make sense. It does not make sense.
Okay.
I don't agree with it.
You know what? I would have wanted to be EFF there because at least they got given Kentucky. The others had to buy their own hot dogs. But anyway.
Don't think that you know, I've been dying for a Boer war. Leave a lot of people alone. The hot dogs are delicious and our soldiers need to eat.
I'm kidding there. No, I first want to just make two observations here. First of all, the chap in the denim and the blue shirt, and that is not part of the Boere Legioen. He's ULA or something like that. I'm not too sure. I'd have to check up. And second, I put it in there because he jumped on as well to also make this statement, which was a little bit rash, which I would say. However, I don't feel that I'm in the position to wrap up his statement totally, because we didn't look through his whole statement as such, although he's already just kicked off with it being problematic.
Andre, do you think the average farm manager there who does not have 149 Rand to put 1 gigabyte data on his phone and actually follow all of the news on YouTube, do you think those people know? Do you think those people who receive the message from Donkey? Linda, thank you very much. I think is a massive danger. Keep in mind, you need to interpret these messages as the people hear it on the ground. And the average farm manager there does not spend his days following the news and the politics in South Africa. So he's not going to have the same perception as we necessarily might have. You need to keep in mind the crowd you are speaking to and what you are saying to them and how they are going to react to that. And I don't think a super emotional stage on the back of a Hilux Bucky is going to, that's not the revolution we want to see. You're going to cause more trouble than you're going to do good, man. Don't do things like that.
The other problem I have there is, why do you want to jump on the back of a truck to become a leader as well? We had one person and the pastor, and now another person wants to come and give his bite to the banana as well. And instead of being pretty reasonable, he just rips the whole arse out of the monkey because, we've already had a high, an emotion, and a good couple of mistakes going backwards. And now he just comes and puts the jelly on it, or whatever you want to call it. So, that's why I left that part in there, because that was probably one of the most hardest shots that shouldn't have been in there.
Well, Andre, I think it's a good thing that we played the entire thing through to give people good context as well. That nobody can say we ripping video clips and sentences out of speeches out of context and blaming people for certain things. There it is. It's there now. You can see. And if your opinion differs, that's perfectly fine. You have a right to your own opinion, but it's important that we actually show the full story.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of the controversy, and by no means do I want to step on any other YouTuber, especially the big guys who actually do far more research on situations, and especially the people who were physically there, who actually brought out the scenario, who know what the emotion, the feeling, and what went out on the background did. So I don't want to knock anyone there, but what I want to do is say, if we looked at as much as what we could see as external people as what is the rest of the country, is what the rest of the world saw, one of the biggest things that were pulled out there was that women and children must go in, which they did say in the beginning. It was said. You know what? It was encouraged, and I'm sure it was because they stuck up their hand. I don't know if they said children, but in the beginning it was women. But I disagree with that. You don't do that. You rather send people in that can go in, then you come back and fetch them if you feel it's safe. Exactly. In the end, General Izak van Zyl said, I think it is better that the women and children stay here. So he did correct his decision as such. So kudos to you, General, for doing that. However, General, I do believe that the vein in which you steered your train is still not on the complete right track. You are still inciting the fact that there may be a war. You are almost expecting a war. You are differentiating between languages. You are differentiating between races by saying white. You are differentiating about the fact by calling people names, connotating animal names to them as well. You are differentiating the fact by stating that 25 or 26 years ago, war was declared and we need to accept the invitation, although we won't, not yet. War was not declared. You know what? A peaceful change was declared 26 years ago. The change in government and people and personalities in there have changed and have started to become greedy and corrupt, which is a discussion for a whole different time. I'm not going to go into that now because we were basically wanting to look. So I'll let you wrap your side now, but mine is, General, you are a very good leader. I think you have great integrity. I think you have a very good heart. You're a man of God, which is very respectable for me, and I respect that as well. You speak very well. I think you care very much. I just think we should not be leading backwards. I think we should lead to the fore, and we should not be making false statements, because once again, as we spoke in our very first Pepazeko NA discussion, we were talking about a difference of class, color, or culture, and basically we said it was not a intellectual or a financial class, but it was a class of a way of thinking, and you are creating a way of thinking amongst your people that is not conducive to this age and time and is not going to heal our nation.
Andre, I think that's very well said, and I think you also.
Linda, yeah, I think we lost most of our people about an hour and a half ago.
Yeah, sorry about that. Andre, I think you perfectly summed it up by saying, you know what, let's lead into the future and not lead into the past. I will say that I have an incredible amount of respect for General Izak Van Zyl. You know, but he actually stood up and is actually trying to lead. The thing is, I just think we need to reevaluate the direction they're leading in. And I think, you know, if we walk away from this entire situation, and I think all of us as South Africans should walk away from this situation and learn from our mistakes on what happened, so that if the shit hits the fan, which is still a possibility in South Africa, that we know what to avoid and that we know what our own pitfalls are, and that we can actually start taking emotion and anger and pride out of our leadership and actually start focusing more on becoming a united front, not a united white front, not a united Afrikaans front. We need to become a united front that actually fights the enemy and not each other, not put each other in boxes, not let emotion get the best of us. It's remember, a cool and calm mind always prevails, does not matter what happens in war as well as around a negotiation table. So I think if we can walk away with a very strong lesson and do some introspection and get better at who and what we are as South Africans and refocus our energy on what our fight was in the first place, I think we'll come through this. And I'm happy that all of this happened. You know, despite all of the negativity, I think this is a very, very good lesson for all of us to learn, especially the leaders of the groups that we entrust our safety to.
Yeah, there we go. I'm going to wrap this one up. Linda, I just want to give you, let me get the finger right, you a major shout out and say you've been an absolute rock and a star. I think you should find us a subject that you like and actually maybe contact us so that you can actually come on and chat with us for one of our sessions, because you've had to do so much typing. I think you will be quite an asset to actually chatting with us sometimes. So there's a hand of invitation to you. Thank you so much for your participation as well. Nina, you've been a rock as well. Thank you very much again to you. It's been super chatting about it. Once again, I think we've scratched questions open and the answers you can find with the big guns. But yeah, you be the judge of that. From your side, anything left to say? Cheers and have a merry day.
Yes, I think that's pretty much it from me. Linda, baie dankie. Ek waardeer die saamgesels en alles. Weet jy wat, ons drink Cambodia bier hierdie kant, maar ek hoop regtig jy kan vanaand 'n black labeltjie drink op my naam.
Boereworsrol.
Ek kry jou boerewors ook dan. Jou boereworsrol ook. Maar ons waardeer die saamgesels en ons waardeer die ondersteuning van jou kant af ook. So ja, ek dink dis dit. Andre, baie dankie. Dit was lekker om te gesels oor hierdie goed en ek dink ons het belangrike vrae gevra en belangrike goed gesê.
We'll be back on Sunday again, South African time 2 o'clock, Cambodian time 7 o'clock. You will have the NA discussion and the NA chaps will be back here. So from us, be good, take care. And if you can't be good, be kind. Shot.